What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So today, as every time, I'm coming to you from my home studio in Paris. Only today we are in complete lockdown due to the coronavirus raging outside our doors. I'm speaking to you while everybody outside is blissfully ignoring the ban and therefore spreading the disease much further. I'm a nurse, I'm a trained nurse, so I'm a little bit allergic to people who don't understand this stuff. So, okay, I'm not gonna rage too much about this, there's no use. People just have to start listening. Anyways, today's video is with Filip from Vue Storefront. He is the creator of Vue Storefront and he's also a senior developer at Devante in Poland. So this video is recorded at the Vue.js Amsterdam conference a couple of weeks ago. So I'm doing this video in a collaboration with the Front End Love conference. We go quite deep into why Filip thinks you need a Vue Storefront and what his vision is on e-commerce in the future. So before you jump in, beware, the camera angle on the video is not great. We actually have two microphone poles right in our faces because actually for some reason the other guy that was filming the other angle, something went wrong. So the file was corrupted and so we couldn't use basically the nice angle. So try to ignore that please, because the contents are actually really cool. I'm super excited to have interviewed Filip. So let's roll that intro. Hello Filip, welcome. How are you?
Hey team. Yeah, I'm really fine. Like I slept till 11 today.
Wow, did you go hard last night or were you just tired?
Well, not that hard to be honest. I was a little bit tired because the adrenaline.
Yeah, sure. So you notice I didn't say your last name, right? Mm-hmm. So can you say it the way it's supposed to be said?
Maybe you can say it and okay. I will tell you if you were wrong.
Okay, I have it here, so I'm going to read it. Filip Rakowski.
Almost Rakowski, but it's like...
Oh, so it's shorter.
Yeah, okay. It's like, I think it's pretty common abroad, like to have the ski surnames.
Yeah, okay.
Even like if you have watched Crimes of Grindelwald. Have you watched it?
I know the name, but I don't think I have seen it.
This is a new franchise based on Harry Potter. So
okay.
This is the second part of this. I think on the third part also there was a guy called Kowalski.
Okay.
So it's like in English all of these names are like Rakowski, Kowalski, but it's like in Polish just Rakowski.
Okay, so it seems a bit shorter. Well, it's good to learn because I interview all these people from other countries and I always butcher their names. So it's fun to hear it for real.
Yeah, like for me, when I hear surname like I'd say in French or in Dutch, it's really hard for me.
Oh, really?
Like I don't even have any idea how to say that.
Yeah, we have those funny things like an O and then an E is U. It's short. So it's U. And then we have an I and a J, which is I. And those are not sounds that English people make, for example. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I actually think like you don't hear it that often in the TV. So you don't really know how to do this. Like for example, for German surnames, even though I never learned German, I more or less I think I can figure out how to spell it, but not for other countries.
Okay, well it's not so bad, right? We're all the same in the end. But so you're Polish, but you work all over the world. Like we have phone calls together about work. It's with France, and you have people in the US. Do you notice any cultural differences?
Quite many, even though like I think like right now during all this globalization, the differences are not that visible. Like especially between European countries and even between European countries and the US, because like everything is more or less similar.
Okay.
But what I notice is like Polish people, not only Polish people, actually there are more countries like this, but we don't have that much the sense of political correctness.
Okay.
And it's very easy to offend other people, even though we don't want to. Because sometimes like if you want to be funny, our sense of humor is a little bit of brutal, I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's the same with Germans actually. So this is why I really like spending time with Germans. We had clients recently from German company and we had really good time because they had exactly the same sense of humor as we.
Oh, this is cool.
It's a really good icebreaker actually, because if you punch someone like with with such a joke and they won't feel offended, it's actually pretty good on building relations.
Yeah, they understand it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
because
it's not the best way to try it, but like I think it immediately tells you that you will have fun with this person.
okay, that's cool. Because in the Netherlands, what I notice is like who you are and what you do is relatively separate. So if you give feedback on something you did, you just okay, fix it. And it's not like I step on your heart. But when I'm in France, that's much more connected. So I've had by accident had people cry because I gave feedback to their work in the Dutch way.
Okay.
And I've noticed with people from Poland, you're also quite direct about that. Do you think it's similar?
Yes,
that way?
definitely. It's definitely similar. Like I really like the directness. I really hate when I'm, talking to people and we're agreeing on something or they're smiling all the time. And then after like few weeks, I'm receiving an email. Oh, well, we wouldn't do this. Like I had this. You're committing so much time, you're committing so much emotions to something. And like for me, it's kind of a lie.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
But I also get it that some cultures are doing it like that. So I'm not trying not to take it personal.
No, that's the whole thing because it's not personal. It's just the way they act, right? So you co-founded Vue Storefront. That's correct, right? You co-founded it.
Yes, with my boss Peter.
Ah, this is great. So why did you think that was needed?
So I actually had a talk about that
Okay.
yesterday at this half of this talk. But basically, like I'm working in the e-commerce industry and it's full of heavy enterprise software.
Yes.
And developer experience, especially front-end developer experience in the software it really sucks.
Yes.
Like if you take platforms like Magento, even WooCommerce, even PrestaShop, which is not that bad. Like it's usually a PHP template that has HTML, has some JavaScript, but this is not a front-end development as we know.
No.
This is a front-end development like 10, 15 years ago. Right now, everything is headless. Right now, we are using modern frameworks. And this is actually an environment where we feel confident, where we can utilize our skills as much as we can. And we can do this in this very popular enterprise e-commerce platforms. So the way of doing this was going headless, so utilizing the API, but still using this modern technology front-end stack. And I think it was really needed because many companies were doing headless applications, but it wasn't that popular. And also in our case, like we decided that we should create something that is reusable. Not something that, when you're creating a headless applications, you're usually starting from scratch. Even though like every e-commerce application is the same, you have homepage, category page, product page, checkout, like the base is the same, then you're starting the customization. So what's the point of doing this like from scratch? So we started Vue Storefront and made some kind of a boilerplate, and we made it open source and people liked it. So they started using it. We started adding new features. Then we started to figure out, okay, so many people are using it. So we need a way actually to start to figure out how to add these new features to the already existing projects. So then it stopped being a boilerplate and started being a framework. And after that, we're kind of industry standard for Magento, and we aim to be industry standard for every other platform right now. And I think like the fact that it became so popular, even though we haven't pushed it that hard, is exactly the reason why it was needed.
So there's this one gap I always find when you go headless, because I work in this industry with the big companies that do the big e-commerce and stuff. And next to doing just e-commerce, they also have a lot of content pages, like stories behind product, stuff like that. And when we go headless, we experience this gap for the content editors. So a content editor, when it's a big monolith, they just write some content, they hit publish and see it directly on the website. How do you bridge that gap by being headless? Because when you're headless, it first has to populate everywhere, and maybe there's not a nice way to preview what you've just, content edited.
Actually, that's not entirely true. I mean, like, yes, the biggest benefit of headless is that you can combine every service that you can combine all the services for different tasks in one application, but also they're usually not that well integrated, as you said, as in native platforms. But fortunately, this is changing. Like, for example, Storyblock. They have a really nice visual preview. And also AEM for React and for Angular. They also have a visual preview of the content, even though there is SPA. maybe the developer experience in AEM is not as good as in Storyblok, but like all these platforms, I think they're slowly realizing that headless is a future. So they need a better way to integrate with the headless tools. It's not only like a big JSON that you're just getting and you're on your own. Companies are trying to also give a little bit better experience, and this is really cool. Like I don't think the gap you mentioned is not that big right now.
Okay, so it's closing in, you think?
Yes, definitely.
Oh, cool. So looking at what you guys have done, you're super successful with that, and it seems to be working really well. So what if I or someone else who is less experienced wanted to start a company like that or just make a product? Where do you start?
So I would say, like, if you have a problem and you want to solve it, just start it. Like when we started Vue Storefront, it was like 2.5 years ago. And to be honest, we had no idea how to build headless applications. We had no idea how to use Vue. And our code was far from being even good. But we started doing this, and it turned out it is needed. So if you're scared about the quality of the product or stuff like that, don't be scared about this, because done is better than perfect. So it's better, it's better to start and then to correct than not to start, because you're worried that it wouldn't be perfect. And that was exactly our case. Like as author of this software, I'm very aware of all its weaknesses, and you know, when I want to improve it, I mostly see these weaknesses, but our users, they mostly see these good parts of the software. Sure. So I think like my advice would be just to start, not to worry about anything, and I think it will pay off.
Okay, cool. That's important. So people should listen to this.
Yes, definitely.
Because there's a lot of procrastination going on with people with a big idea, but they never do anything. So start small and just try.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
And so this goes a little bit the same with conferences, because you basically every conference I speak, you speak. And then I always see you speaking on more. And I know how hard it is to write a good CFP, for example, or how to get into a conference. So what are some quick tips that you have to actually get into those conferences?
Yeah, so you already asked me about that like some time ago, and to be honest, like I don't have a very clear answer, and I don't have like a very I don't have any magic unique way of writing my CFPs. When I'm choosing the topic, I'm trying to choose a topic that will be interesting to people, but also not so mainstream. Like if there is something that people could easily learn from documentation, or there are like hundreds articles about that, I'm not making talks about this, because I don't think it's like something that people would benefit from, and it's also not something I would benefit from, because actually when speakers are choosing talks, from what I have learned with talking with them and also from my personal experience, this is usually a topic that you want to go a little bit deeper, that you want to understand a little bit more. So I think I'm just choosing the right topics that are pretty unique and not very not very easy to grasp from the internet. Like I was speaking a lot about web performance, especially in Vue.js, and there are no good materials about that. Like there are a few tutorials, but they're very like oriented usually around certain feature, which is usually like lazy loading routes.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Sometimes you can find tutorials where you have some instructions how to lazy load Vues, but generally this is like a very basic stuff. So even combining all of this together into one talk is a nice idea. So I would suggest picking a topic that is important to you and that you feel confident in, and that doesn't necessarily need to be some kind of you know, bummer, like something that everyone knows about.
Okay. And what do you think is the most important part of your talk that make the audience like, oh, I want to see this thing? Is it like a properly written title, or is it maybe just your name because you did that many times? Or is it like a description or the design of your slides? What do you think makes that so successful?
I think it's always a title.
Okay.
Because like where people are browsing the agenda, they're browsing the titles. They
probably the first four words of the title, right?
They're rarely reading the description. So if you see the title and you see, oh, okay, so this is a topic I have no idea about, and from this title it seems like I would learn it.
Okay, that's cool.
Then I would go to such talk.
Okay, so title it is.
Yeah, title it is. Also, like, you know, the writing description for CFP is pretty easy. Like, I'm writing in bullet points, actually, what would be in this talk and what people would get from it. So I think this is very important, like not to only write an abstract of what you will be talking about, but what people will get from it.
Okay, but that's actually a really good tip, because I don't think I do that.
Oh.
So I better start doing it. So when you look at, let's say, your Twitter feed, it's all looking like whatever you touch goes into gold. It's
not like this.
No, but I know, but it seems like it, and this is what you do very well. That's clear. And I also, because from my own experience, I know that doesn't happen always. But so can you talk about what is the stuff that you're not posting that makes you actually so good at what you do? Because you cannot just be successful, because then your life is super boring. You never get really good. So do you also have some challenges that actually make you better than, like, that make you what you are now?
So, like, this question is pretty broad, but
Maybe,
sure,
it's on purpose.
Yeah, but maybe I will tell you about the story of technological aspects of Vue Storefront, because a lot of people, actually it's kind of connected to the previous question, because a lot of people think that you need to learn how to build software before building it, and to be honest, I think it's not exactly right, because you can also build software and learn on this, and then iterate on that and start from scratch and build something new. And that was exactly with Vue Storefront. I'm not like 100% satisfied with how it looks. We made tons of mistakes, and those were the mistakes that made us struggle with many things and complicated our development hugely. We also lost some clients because of that.
Oh, wow.
So we made a lot of mistakes on the current Vue Storefront, and we needed a lot of time to fix that. And we learned on this how to build software properly. So I think it's very important to make these mistakes and to make them even to make really hard mistakes.
Okay. So what is,
because
do you have an
based on
example of
this, you're really learning how to do things properly. If you're complicating a lot of stuff for yourself in your software, then you think more about that. You think more about the perfect architecture. Also, you have kind of PTSD. You really don't want to end up in this situation again. So you're really trying to figure out how to do everything properly to never end up in this situation again. So I think maybe it's not exactly the answer to your question, because I can't think about this. I can't find such situation right now, because it's very broad question. Sure. But just don't be afraid of making mistakes, because they're inevitable. Just try to learn as much as you can from them. We are trying to do this, and we are totally open with all the weaknesses of our software. We are totally open of everything that we're doing wrong, and this is totally okay to admit. I mean, people sometimes, especially in our industry, they're sometimes scared of admitting the mistake, because there is a common misconception that everyone should know everything, especially the senior developers, that they shouldn't make any mistakes, and that's not true. You're a human and you're making mistakes. What makes a good developer is learning on these mistakes. For example, if I have people in new projects, for example, in core of Vue Storefront, those are usually very good people, and they're making a lot of mistakes at the beginning, and I'm correcting them, we're arguing, but after some time, usually after 2-3 months, I don't need to supervise them, because they already know all the concepts, they learned about them, we argued about them, so they understood them. Yeah. So now they don't need supervision, and it doesn't mean that they just came to the project and they knew everything. They made a lot of mistakes, but they learned on them pretty quickly, and this ability to adapt, I think, makes you a good developer.
Oh, this is profound. And I think that's true. I lead exactly the same way. I always say, fail fast and fail forward. Right? It's not like you're doing heart rate monitor software.
Yes.
We're selling handbags. It's very different. So I always ask this one. It's one of my favorite ones. Is there something that you are really good at, or you think that you are you don't have to be an expert, but something that you really like that actually nobody knows about you?
So I was training judo when I was much younger, and I was training it for 5 years. I was in national team. Cool. Yeah, and I was training 5-6 times a week, and I was pretty good at it.
But at maybe Poland, not that's high quality, right? I think they're really high quality in your country.
So they were. I think we also have Olympic champion Paweł Nastula. But right now, the situation is not so clear because, of course, like every time there are successes, there is also money, and when there is a money, there are problems.
Yeah. Okay.
But like overall, the level of judo in Poland, I think it's pretty cool. So I was training it for this 5 years. I think I was pretty successful. Unfortunately, I had an injury that actually forced me to stop.
Okay.
Yeah, but I also learned on this, like actually doing any sports builds a spirit, like seriously, especially when you're young. If I will have a kid, I will definitely force that kid to do some sports.
Yeah, to just learn what it is like to lose or to win all by themselves, right? So I have one last question. You go to all these conferences. What do you do with all the stickers?
So I'm not a very organized person, even though I may seem to be. And I'm actually putting those stickers everywhere. Like even recently, we had a hackathon 3 days ago. And one guy asked me, do I have any stickers? And, I didn't get any by purpose, but I just checked my backpack, and I got like 20 of them in different places. So I had Cloudinary ones, Vue Storefront ones, Storefront UI ones, Netlify ones, all of them from different conferences. Some of them when even 2 years old. So the answer is like I'm putting them in places.
Oh, well, that's the
and then I'm
perfect
finding
answer.
them.
Actually, in my case, they either go in a drawer or they go on my wife's laptop. But she has no idea what they are. So she has like the GitLab Fox like 5 times. And she has no idea what she has. But it's good fun.
I'm putting some of them on my Xbox. But but I ran out of space like
You
long
should
time
only
ago.
put Azure stuff on your Xbox. Then.
Actually, I don't have any sticker from Microsoft on this Xbox.
Okay.
Ironically,
exactly.
but I have AWS.
Oh boy, I don't know where they go. But dude, thanks for this. I know we're running a bit long, but this is super great. Thanks a lot for talking to us.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me.
Cool.
Hey, bye.
Thanks.